Welcome back. I'm Marco Lamano. The issue of abortion rights will no doubt be debated here in Florida. Governor Ron DeSantis signed into law an abortion ban after 15 weeks of pregnancy, saying, quote, "Life is a sacred gift worthy of our protection, and I am proud to sign this great piece of legislation which represents the most significant protections for life in the state's modern history," unquote. Florida Agriculture Commissioner Nikki Fried, and candidate for governor, joined us earlier Sunday to speak about that mindset and respond to arguments made by those who oppose abortion rights. One of the arguments is it's simply wrong to kill an innocent human. Abortion kills an innocent human, therefore abortion is wrong because life begins at conception. What would you say to Floridians with that mindset?
Science, medicine says otherwise. That at conception, you can't, there's no viability. If they were come out of the woman's womb at that moment, there's no viability there. And that's been the consistent argument that the religious right have been saying time and time again. And at the end of the day, if you don't want to have an abortion and you don't believe in abortions, don't have one. But don't put your personal religious beliefs on me. There is a separation of church and state here in the country that is a bedrock of who we are as Americans. And that's one thing, if you believe that, then I respect that. But the fact that I may not believe that, you should also give me the same courtesy and the same respect to do what I believe is right for myself and for my family and my personal beliefs, and looking at the science, looking at the data, because it is disputable of those facts.
Another argument I hear from the pro-life side is that why not just do adoption? For some of them, expand access to contraception. I know even that is, as we saw with Justice Thomas, even that's a debatable point. But there definitely is a section of the pro-life movement that goes, you know, with adoption and contraception, abortion is not needed as an option. Your response?
That is absolutely so inaccurate. You know, I spent a good part of my career working in the foster care system. And there is not enough resources there. Children are falling through the cracks every single day. And unfortunately, there aren't enough people out here for adoptions. And you also want to look at this too. You know, the children that are not getting adopted, the children in the Black and brown communities. If you look at the percentage of adoptions across the state and across the country, it's white babies that get adopted before Black and brown babies. And so now you have a system that is already failing on the healthcare side to so many of our communities of color. Now you're making it more difficult because adoption isn't always an option. There aren't enough parents out there for adoption, especially those in the minority communities. And if you're putting children in the foster care system, I can tell you firsthand how many of our children are emotionally scarred for life when they're in the foster care system. There are not enough resources. And if you're asking a woman to actually carry a government-forced pregnancy and then not giving the resources if she so chooses to keep the baby, every single legislative session, every single one of these governors the last 28 years continued to cut resources to so many of these communities. So much of even just access to general health care, to after school programs, to opportunities for women to get back into the workforce. Those resources are not here, not only just in Florida, but across the entire country. And so if the conservative religious right want to talk about protecting these fetuses, what about after they're born? That's where they stop to draw. They don't draw that line. They say it, but they don't put their money where their mouth is.
And real quick on that, would you support something similar to what President Biden had proposed last fall, universal pre-K and paid leave? I know it was debated, but I think he was going up to 12 weeks. Would you support that as a post-birth kind of system of care for not just mothers, but parents in general? Yeah, I mean, look, we have to fundamentally change the way that we're viewing how to protect and how to give resources and support for some of these women. You know, women have, for now decades, come so far in the economy. We're seeing more and more CEOs and women that are in charge of Fortune 500 companies, even in the legal profession. More and more women that are becoming partners and head of their law firms. And this is going to take us back. And if there aren't additional resources for the universal pre-K, for some of the paid leave, and some other of these resources and healthcare access along the entire way, and there's also a responsibility as well on the male.
You know, so many, and unfortunately in our, communities of color, that there isn't a partnership after the pregnancy. And so we've got to be looking at some of these institutions that are leaving women in the dust. This is a sad, sad day for women across our country. And so people need to get angry because this has a dramatic impact, not only on women's healthcare system, but on the economic opportunities for women all across our country.
We will have both part 1 and part 2 of this interview with Nikki Fried on our website at snntv.com. Coming up, Leslie London has your full Weather Authority forecast for the Suncoast.